Tragedy in Ukraine as missile strike claims over 50 lives. In central Ukraine's Poltava region, a Russian missile attack has wreaked havoc, targeting a military academy and a nearby hospital. The assault resulted in at least 51 fatalities, including military personnel, and left 271 others injured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned the strike, urging for enhanced air defenses. Witnesses recounted scenes of chaos and destruction, as many were unable to seek shelter in time. The attack has drawn criticism towards Ukrainian authorities, with calls for improved safety measures to protect civilians. Rescue workers and volunteers faced grim scenes, uncovering dismembered bodies amidst the rubble. International leaders, including U.S. President Biden and UK Foreign Secretary Lammy, have expressed their condemnation and pledged continued support for Ukraine. This tragic event highlights the relentless threat to civilian lives and infrastructure in the ongoing conflict. Stay tuned for more updates.
Here's the latest. A devastating Russian missile strike has hit Poltava, central Ukraine, leaving 51 dead and over 200 injured. This brutal attack targeted a military facility and a nearby hospital. President Biden has called it a blatant attempt by President Putin to break the spirit of the Ukrainian people. Biden's statement strongly condemned the attack, underscoring the urgent need for enhanced air defense systems in Ukraine. International leaders have echoed this sentiment, calling for increased military support. Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed the use of ballistic missiles and highlighted ongoing rescue operations. With the death toll potentially rising, local authorities have declared 3 days of mourning. As the world watches, the call for advanced defense systems like the Patriot becomes louder. The human cost of this conflict is staggering, and the international community stands united in condemnation. Stay tuned for more updates.
Following the Ukraine conflict, you need to hear this latest update. Russia has just launched new attacks on Kyiv and Lviv. Ukraine's military reports a new wave of Russian aggression, with missile and drone strikes hitting both Kyiv and Lviv. Tragically, in Lviv, at least 7 people, including 3 children, lost their lives, and over 20 were injured. These attacks have prompted emergency responses from Poland, which activated its air defenses in response to increased Russian activity. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reiterated his urgent call for long-range weaponry from the West to counter these aggressive actions. In another catastrophic event, the Poltava region declared 3 days of mourning after a Russian airstrike on a military academy and hospital resulted in dozens of deaths. This marks one of the deadliest attacks since the war began. Ukrainian officials are condemning these recent strikes and are calling for increased international support, specifically more air defense systems. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story.
Now let's talk about Ukraine. Today, we've got breaking news from Ukraine that could have significant implications for the country's future. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has resigned from his position. This marks a huge shift within the Ukrainian government. Kuleba's departure comes amidst a broader reshuffling of the cabinet, with many high-ranking officials expected to be replaced. For those who aren't familiar, Kuleba has been a key player in President Zelensky's administration and is anticipated to take on a new role within the government soon. So why is this happening now? Well, this shakeup could signal a potential shift in Ukraine's political landscape as the country navigates the ongoing conflict and prepares for future challenges. The reasons behind the reshuffle remain a bit of a mystery, but it suggests a move to consolidate power or address perceived shortcomings within the government. This isn't just about Kuleba. Over half of the cabinet of ministers is expected to change, reflecting ongoing adjustments within the Ukrainian government. The new appointments and the roles they will play are eagerly anticipated, as they will likely shape Ukraine's political direction in the coming months. Now let's add some context. This reshuffle is happening against the backdrop of Russia's ongoing missile attacks on Ukraine. Tragically, these attacks have resulted in fatalities, including the death of a child. The timing of the reshuffle suggests there's a potential link to the ongoing conflict and the need for a united and decisive leadership. And there's another layer to this. President Zelensky is preparing for a crucial visit to the United States. This visit is expected to focus on securing further military and financial aid from the U.S., making it a pivotal moment for Ukraine's diplomatic efforts. The changes within the government, particularly in key positions like the foreign minister, could impact the dynamics of these negotiations. Lastly, let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. This plant, currently under Russian control, has raised international alarms due to the potential risks associated with the ongoing conflict. The government reshuffle could signal a renewed focus on addressing these security concerns and ensuring the plant's safety. So there you have it. A major shakeup in Ukraine's government with potential wide-ranging implications. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this developing story. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.
Hey there, folks. Today we're diving into some major news on the international front. The United States has taken significant legal action against Hamas, the militant group behind the devastating attack on Israel on October 7th of last year. This attack resulted in the tragic loss of many lives, including those of American citizens. The leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, along with other prominent figures, has been charged with serious offenses such as murder, supporting terrorism, and employing weapons of mass destruction. Attorney General Merrick Garland emphasized that these charges are aimed at sending a strong message to Hamas and highlighting their long-standing history of violence against both American citizens and Israel. President Joe Biden has strongly condemned the killings and affirmed that Hamas leaders will be held accountable for their actions. The indictment targets both living and deceased Hamas leaders, and while its potential impact on ongoing negotiations between the U.S. and Israel remains unclear, it represents a significant step in holding these figures accountable. Let's take a closer look at the key figures implicated in these terrorist attacks. Federal prosecutors have brought charges against Yahya Sinwar, the political leader of Hamas, alongside 5 other high-ranking leaders. These charges include the horrific massacre on October 7th, which claimed the lives of at least 43 Americans. The complaint, unsealed just yesterday, also implicates 2 additional high-ranking Hamas members who had not been previously connected to the attacks. Among those charged are prominent figures like Ismail Haniyeh, Mohammed Daif, Marwan Issa, Ali Barakeh, and Khaled Mashal. It's worth noting that Daif and Issa were killed in Israeli airstrikes, while Haniyeh was assassinated in Iran. These charges suggest that the planning of these attacks was kept highly confidential, potentially changing our understanding of Hamas's operations. So what does this mean moving forward? The charges filed by the Justice Department include conspiracy to support terrorism and the murder of U.S. nationals, with accusations that Iran and Hezbollah provided support to Hamas. While these charges are largely symbolic, given Sinwar's evasive actions and the deaths of some defendants, they represent a significant effort by the U.S. to target Hamas and hold them accountable. These charges come at a time when the U.S. is actively engaged in negotiating a ceasefire and a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas. Attorney General Merrick Garland emphasized the unwavering commitment of the United States to addressing Hamas's operations and supporting efforts to bring American hostages home safely. It's a complex and evolving situation, and we'll continue to keep you updated as more information becomes available. Don't forget to subscribe.
Today, I'm diving into the latest developments in the Israel-Gaza conflict, focusing on the U.S. ceasefire efforts and why they're hitting a major roadblock. So let's get right into it. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has firmly rejected calls for a ceasefire with Hamas. This defiance comes despite growing pressure from both domestic and international fronts. Just recently, 6 Israeli hostages lost their lives, sparking widespread protests throughout Israel. People are demanding an end to the ongoing conflict, but Netanyahu isn't budging. In a national address, Netanyahu expressed his deep sorrow over the hostages' deaths and vowed a strong retaliation against Hamas. But what's really causing the deadlock? It's all about the Philadelphia corridor, a crucial border area between Gaza and Egypt. Netanyahu insists that Israeli control over this corridor is essential to prevent Hamas from rearming and regrouping. This corridor is not just a strip of land, it's a lifeline and a strategic choke point. Netanyahu argues that without control over this area, Hamas will simply rearm and continue its attacks. But here's the kicker. Both Egypt and Hamas view this demand as a thinly veiled attempt to maintain a military presence in Gaza. So where does the U.S. stand in all this? The U.S. has been a strong advocate for a ceasefire, urging both sides to halt the violence and return to negotiations. However, the US hasn't explicitly addressed Israel's demands for corridor control, adding another layer of complexity to an already tangled situation. Meanwhile, the humanitarian toll is escalating. The United Kingdom has even suspended certain arms exports to Israel, citing concerns over the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The World Health Organization is scrambling to vaccinate children in Gaza against polio, but delivering aid has been incredibly challenging due to the volatile security situation. With each passing day, the conflict continues to claim more lives and deepen the humanitarian crisis. International pressure is mounting, but so far, Netanyahu remains resolute. He's focused on securing Israel's security interests before considering any ceasefire. So what's the bottom line here? The situation is complex, with deep-rooted issues on both sides. The path to a resolution remains unclear, and as both Israel and Hamas dig in, the hope for a swift end to the violence seems distant. That's it for today's update. If you found this video informative, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more updates. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more insights. And now let's go to the next article.
I'm diving into a deeply troubling situation that's unfolding in the Middle East. Hamas has issued a chilling new order. They've directed their militants to execute hostages if Israeli ground troops enter Gaza. This marks a terrifying escalation in an already intense conflict. Why this drastic shift? Historically, Hamas has used hostages as bargaining chips, hoping to exchange them for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. But now, with Israel ramping up its ground offensive, Hamas seems to be feeling the heat and their tactics are taking a dark turn. The international community is not staying silent. The United States, the European Union, and the United Nations have all condemned Hamas's order. Calls for the immediate release of all hostages and a cessation of attacks on Israel are echoing worldwide. The outrage is palpable and the pressure is mounting. This shift in Hamas's strategy is not just a military move, it's also inflaming public sentiment in Israel. Protests are erupting in major cities, with citizens demanding stronger action against Hamas and the safe return of the hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is under immense pressure. While he remains steadfast in his resolve to continue military operations until all hostages are freed, the Israeli public is deeply divided. The strain on the government and its people is immense, with no clear resolution in sight. And here's another layer to this complex crisis. The Israeli army has uncovered a Hamas warfare manual. Found in the Zaytun neighborhood, this document provides a detailed look into Hamas's tunnel warfare tactics. It outlines strategies for navigating the intricate tunnel networks, engaging in combat in confined spaces, and using equipment like night vision goggles. Written in 2019, the manual emphasizes the importance of timing and coordination, highlighting Hamas's calculated use of tunnels in their operations. This discovery is significant. It not only provides valuable intelligence on Hamas's capabilities, but also underscores the ongoing threat posed by their tunnel network. Even when large-scale conflict seemed improbable, Hamas was preparing. Now the Israeli forces have crucial insights that could aid them in countering these underground strategies. So, where does this leave us? The situation is highly volatile and deeply tragic. The international community continues to urge restraint and peaceful resolution, but on the ground, tensions are escalating. The world watches, hoping for a breakthrough that will bring an end to this cycle of violence and lead to the safe return of all hostages. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, take care.